Hey all, thank you for tuning in to part 2 of the Jesse Posey Show right here on the MoonLightin Outdoors podcast. If you hadn't already, go back over and watch part number 1 where we talk about some of his successful hunts. Jesse, how many deer do you have on your wall?
We've got, I think, around 13.
Just thinking around 13, give or take.
With my sons. My sons have really...
Yeah. Hey, that's part of being a successful hunter, man. You're helping your boys get on them. Or are they helping you?
Both.
Both?
They've re-energized me, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. How many years you been a hunter?
About 30 years now.
About 30 years.
Yep.
There's a particular picture that floating around Facebook. I've seen it a time or two. It shows up in your memories, and you share it again. It's pretty special to you. A photo of your dad, who is my uncle, Brett, is that his first deer?
Yes, his first deer period and first deer with a bow, and that was a neat hunt.
And you still remember it. Boy,
it was yesterday.
You look tiny in that picture.
Yep.
Still wet behind the ears. But anyways, it's a neat photo. Hope you guys enjoy it. But that kind of started everything out for you, and you probably relived that day 100 times in your head, at least before the next season when you were doing it yourself. How old were you when you took your first deer?
I think I was 14.
14?
Yeah.
So he killed way before I did. I didn't get into deer hunting until I was 19, and it was a sad, sad sight. Stuff I had to do. My dad was not a deer hunter, so I didn't have the privilege of having any help. A guy I work with just said, hey, let's go deer hunting. So I went and got permission someplace, and we went. And my goodness.
My dad,
rough.
He wasn't a trophy hunter by no means, but he would never let me shoot a doe. And back then, you could only shoot a doe the last 4 days of shotgun. And even then, he wouldn't let me shoot a doe. So it was buck or nothing. So.
Yep. Have you ever taken a doe?
Yeah, we've taken a few does, but it's probably been, 10 years since we've taken a doe.
So tell me this: do you have any kind of ties to any kind of whitetail management organization, or are you just somebody that cares about the herd?
Yeah, I've got a couple. I've learned a lot from. There's a couple guys that have taught me everything that when they speak, I listen. Jamie Turpin and Bill Gardner. Those two are probably some of the best woods wise, and just like any other hunter. I screw up all the time, but those two know whitetails, know Billy Gardner knows, the lay of the land and how they're going to move before they even know how they move. And I've listened to him, and I think the world of him, and he just listened to them has put me, I believe, above in my years just because of them guys.
You got the edge.
I got an edge because of those guys, just listening to them. They know. And
well, I'm also from the same county as Jesse. We grew up just a few miles apart from each other, but Billy Gardner and Jamie Turpin are names that you often hear around here. Billy does some taxidermy work, and he does a good job, and Jamie's just known for killing deer. So,
yeah.
And he's killed some big ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And we don't do a whole lot of like food plots and stuff, really. I want to get more into that, and we've done some timber stand improvement and stuff like that on a farm, but we mainly, my big thing is just staying out. We don't just pressure. That is my number one thing is we do not pressure deer, and we hunt accordingly to all the hunters that hunt the properties around us.
You just we watch what they're doing.
Yeah, and we stay out, and then we move in and
stay out and move in.
Yeah,
like a ninja.
It is. It's
Jesse Posey the ninja.
We've got a couple properties that we don't step foot in. There's one that other than helping a neighbor track a deer, it hadn't been stepped foot in probably 4 years. It's not a huge piece, but
and what's the thought process behind not ever going in that woods?
They just feel comfortable. The does feel comfortable.
Oh, and then you hunt it.
We hunt the edges
at the late. Oh, okay. I'm following now. I thought you were just saying you got a woods you never go in. I'm like, wow, that's a great hunting tip. Don't hunt your woods, guys.
Yeah. No,
you heard it here first. The Jesse Posey Show.
Don't hunt it and let me hunt it.
Yeah.
Give me a call.
Man, you about had me going for it too. I'm like, okay, if I want to kill a big deer, I just don't hunt. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, it works.
I was very puzzled, so I'm very glad we pulled that out. I thought you were trying to feed us some garbage over here, man. So, no, that's solid though. And when I had your boys in for interview with them after they each killed, I asked them what's their one piece of advice for the new hunter, and you know what they said? They said, "Stay out, don't pressure them." So I think that obviously is working for you guys. Because I really doubt you guys rehearsed what they were supposed to say when you got over here.
I've beat it into their, because we'll be sitting there and they'll be like, we'll see a deer in there and they want to go. They think, if he walked down there, he's going to be there tomorrow and let's go sit right there. But it just, my biggest thing. We don't put any human sin in there. We don't do anything. And if you can keep the does, if you can keep them feeling safe and keep them home, it's just a matter of time before.
Yeah.
A big one moves in. A good one.
Big one. Refer back to our other podcasts, and you'll see the word biggin comes in with his boys. I love it. The Jesse Posey Biggin Show. But so I understand that you do a lot of, you have a trailer that you've manufactured, you put a little hut on top of it, and you pull it out on the wood lines. Yeah. And that's typically how you do all of your hunting.
Especially with the kids.
Yeah.
With me, I don't so much hunt out of them. With me, I hunt on the ground almost all the time. I haven't hunted out of a tree stand in probably 10 years at least. But the kids, with getting their gun set up on the sled and, having to move around and giving them a chance to move around and all that, that's the only way to take a kid. And
gotcha.
It's helped us and be successful with the boys.
When you're sitting on the ground, you're just propped up against a tree or something?
Anything. I'll pile stuff up around me and I'll bounce around and never hardly in the same spot 2 days in a row, but
like a ninja.
Yeah.
This is all coming together in my mind. Next year, I'm going to post a picture of me moving around real stealthy, my ninja outfit. No, this is solid information. So I didn't know that though. I thought that you also just sat in a hut. I didn't know that you were doing all that.
I'm mainly for the kids.
So when you're moving around, it's basically because you just don't want them to pattern you. That's the whole thing.
A lot of it, and
based on the wind.
And I don't want to take, I don't want to go in and have to put a tree stand up. And like the buck I was fortunate enough to take this year, he came out. I forgot to mention in that, but the night before, I'm almost positive I seen him, and he came out in a different area. So the next day when I went in there, I moved probably 100 yards and set up on him.
That's awesome. No, this is great stuff. So when you were talking earlier about kind of the guys that inspired you as far as being Jamie and Billy, is this something you guys sat down and they've told you some of their stuff and this is what they're doing too? Are you gonna sell them out right here?
No, not really. I
pictured them being tree stand hunters, but
no,
really,
no.
Okay.
A lot of it just the lay of the land. How deer use low spots and just how they travel and stuff like that. There's a lot of that kind of stuff that you don't think about, and then when you sit back and you analyze what just happened when you do screw up and how the deer reacted to when you screwed up, and then use that to your advantage the next time.
That's pretty neat. So that understanding and pattern deer from when I've talked to you in the past has always been like 7/8 of your strategy is knowing when they're moving, where they're moving, and once you find out that they're there, they better watch out because you're going to kill them.
And that's like muzzleloader. That's I don't even like when the boys. If Gage would have killed earlier in gun, I don't even like gun season. I like the first half an hour of gun season, and then after that, I don't even care to go gun season because it's just hard to pattern, and you've got so many guys out there, and that's what we just stay out of our properties and let everybody else hunt the tar out of theirs, and then come muzzleloader season, if you can get on a good buck, you can kill him because he's bedded close to the food. And normally the does are bedded close to the food. So if you're easy and don't hunt mornings, I don't ever hunt mornings during muzzleloader.
Don't hunt mornings.
Do not hunt mornings.
And why is that?
A lot of times they're already in there. I mean, unless you get in there super early, it's sleep in and
Gotcha.
I've never had any luck in the mornings come muzzleloader.
So when you're trying to pattern a deer, just kind of talk about that for a minute. How do you, other than just watching what other hunters are doing and what kind of pressure they're putting on them, what else are you looking for? You keep saying lay of the land, so I know you're thinking like explain. Just talk about that for a minute.
It just depends. I mean, like these cold days. I mean, you talk about a south facing slope. I mean, they bet on these south facing slopes. I mean, if it's cold, you can in your head almost just imagine if you was a big deer, where would I lay? And it's kind of be one with the deer, I guess. If
be one with the one.
Yes, with the one, and just kind of. I mean, and then once you've seen him 4 or 5 times, and you kind of know
what he's up to. And then there was one buck a few years ago that I was fortunate enough to take, and he's not a high scoring deer, but he was one of the oldest deer I've ever taken. He's a real funky deer. That deer, well, I'm not going to sit here and say I run 5,000 trail cameras, and but we had pictures of him for I think 3 years, and I talked to you. And I was all down in the dumps because of this deer. He got under my skin, and once the deer gets under my skin, I mean, if I'll eat my tag if I don't kill him. I mean, I don't care. But this deer never showed up on our farm till muzzleloader season. I mean, he was never there. And then, like that deer, I mean, I just about knew where he would be if he showed up. And I got lucky. I mean, and one evening I got in there, and once I got in, I did take him out of a hut. But once I got in there, he was already there. And when I had to crawl to get into my hut, and got in there and opened the window, and I had to sit there and watch him for 2 hours, bedded down. But I was fortunate enough to take him that evening. But that's pretty incredible. I mean, the more you talk, the more I'm seeing a ninja. I mean, I think everybody's with me. He's crawling into his stand. He's stealth. Man. I know this kind of sounds weird for a deer hunting interview, but guys, this is where it's at.
It's you. I mean, you just have some of the stuff stealthy. Is so dumb.
Yeah, I remember talking to you the other day, and I've ran through this 100 times in my head, and you're probably going to pinch me under the table for saying this, but he was talking about if he walks into a woods and he jumps the deer, what do?
Take off running with him, especially in the morning.
Just run with him.
If I'm going to my stand and I jump deer,
you just run too.
I take off running right with him.
And what's the philosophy behind that?
I mean, you're gonna make noise, and it sounds dumb, and maybe it is dumb. I don't know, but I mean, you're gonna make if you're if you're gonna crack a stick or anything while they're running, they're not gonna hear you. And
just hurry up and get where you're going.
Try to mimic a deer running to my stand, and then I get there, and there's been a lot of times.
Do you make noise too when you're running?
No.
You don't.
Yeah, out of breath. Yes. An old man gasping.
I'm trying to picture this.
A guy trying not to die.
Yeah. No, but honestly, it's solid. That's solid stuff.
I don't know how many times I've done that, and then you get up in your stand, and here they come. They come right back because they don't know what spooked them necessarily. They just
they don't know what.
It don't happen it don't work every time, and it sounds dumb, but just stuff like that. You try it and.
Why not?
Yeah, you've already jumped them. I mean, so.
They might think a person would never be stupid enough to do something like that. You heard it here first, guys.
There's a lot of dumb. The other night I was hunting and had a few deer around me, and they wouldn't leave. And it was an hour after dark, and they was 50, 60 yards from me.
Yep.
So I got on my phone, and I started playing coyote sounds.
Trying to spook them out naturally.
And they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't go. So I just started barking like a dog. And I'm not going to say.
I was
going to say, yeah.
Demonstrate. What's that sound like?
No, thank you. But I just started barking like a dog.
And they finally said, heck with this. I'm out of here.
They flagged a little bit and walked away. And the next night I seen the same group of deer. I mean, I waited till he's out of sight. But it sounds dumb. But
it doesn't sound dumb. It doesn't sound dumb. If you really think about it, the philosophy is pretty simple behind it. You know? Once they think that a man is their number one predator next to the coyote.
Yeah.
And once they get you pegged, and so you went right to the coyote.
Yeah.
And that didn't work. So doggone it, I'm going to be a dog. But you don't want them thinking that you're there.
Yeah, you don't want them to associate, danger with you.
Yeah. So talk about funnels and pinch points and different things. These are terms that, I've got a good understanding of what they are, but there might be somebody that doesn't. So when you're mapping out a new hunting property, how do you want to play in on funnels and pinch points and what's the difference between them? And just talk about that a little bit. You keep talking lay of the land, so let's talk it.
There's ravines. If, and funnels, like you said, but one of my big things and off of funnels, but just inside corners on, a woods. Hunting them inside corners. It don't have to be, 30 yards inside corner. One where Gage has had all of his luck at that farm. It's only it's an L, or it makes a small L, but it's only 30. In that inside corner, they just tear it up. They feel, there's about a 50-yard square there where they feel
really comfortable. And then there's a bunch of farms that's that way. Because around here, we're Henry County, Indiana. It ain't like we have huge blocks of timber and all this, but and a lot of it. We use houses as funnels. And backgrounds and stuff like that. Because they're not gonna kind of pins into this area.
Some of it's just dumb stuff.
You hear a lot of people talk about hunting fence rows. Is that something you ever do?
Yeah. We have. There's one farm that we hunt where 4 fence rows come together and just make a huge crossing, and we've had some luck there. And
pretty hot. That seems like it'd be boring.
It is. It's feast or famine there.
Yeah.
That's a Halloween through opening day. After opening day of shotgun, you kind of
hoping to cruise through.
Yeah. Yep. Either from pressure or cruising, during the rut and looking for a doe. But after that, we don't hunt fence rows really after opening weekend of shotgun.
So I was hoping to pull it out of you organically, but it didn't come. So I'm gonna ask you. We talked a little bit before, and you said that you don't put out food plots, but you do tend to leave a little row crop behind.
Yeah.
Are you putting out minerals, by the way?
No.
You do any minerals? Okay.
Nope.
So when you're leaving behind the row crop, just tell us about that.
Beans. We leave beans out, and standing beans is hard to beat come December. As long as we have, but like this year, they used them, but not like a normal year. When if we get some really good cold days, normally that was my go-to. There's a lot of guys just you can't beat standing beans. The protein and the energy source for these deer that they need it when it gets cold. They got to have it, and normally, you can take your pick. You stay out of the woods and don't pressure it, and then you have the standing beans, and that's a mean combination.
I don't know how you have the discipline because I know you have a Facebook account. I don't know how you have the discipline to be a part of all these deer hunting groups on Facebook and see all your buddies shooting these bucks and things, knowing that it's the rut, and you're sitting at home twiddling your thumbs waiting on the daggone muzzleloader season. How do you do it?
It used to bother me, and it used to bother me thinking that I had to feel my tag, I would get all upset, and I'd be a total jerk, because I felt like I had something to prove, and I got to fill my tag. And I think that's a lot of people's. They think they got to fill their buck tag, and I don't. We've been very fortunate. We've been blessed and gotten lucky, and I went 7 years and didn't pull a trigger, and I'll probably go another 7. I know it's coming. It's not if, it's when. We're gonna. And I've tried telling the boys that. You're gonna go through ups and downs, and I've been so mad, and you get on a deer and you get there and the guy's cutting wood, and it's Henry County, or the landowner let somebody else hunt, or it's all the time you're fighting something,
or the farmer hadn't picked your crops and you can't get in because the corn's standing.
Yeah,
I don't know nothing about that.
Yeah. But it's, there's just so many variables there it's hard. But when it happens, man, it's
just
worth it.
This year and last few years for the Posey boys has just been astronomical. You guys have have done a fabulous job on killing. I think the last few deer you've killed have at least been 140-inch deer, all in muzzleloader season, following all the tips and tricks that he just shared with us, running in, chasing the deer. No, I'm just kidding. But no, honestly, Jesse, I really appreciate you having you on, and I think that I still think you're holding out on us a little bit. You got to keep some of those things, your tricks to yourself. But it's been a real pleasure having you on. I've taken, looks like 22 minutes of your time here.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yep. Think about it. And if you have an aha moment and decide that you'd like to share some more stuff with us, we'd love to have you back on. And, there's a lot of people around here that, respect you as a deer hunter, and, you're going to be right up there with Billy Gardner and Jamie Turpin in this county. So
I wouldn't say that.
Thank you so much for being on, man. I appreciate you.
No problem. Thank you.
MoonLightin Outdoors, Jesse Posey Show. We're out.